Second.
I'm sorry, I was early.
Hey, I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock on November 4th, 2024 at the town hall. Can we have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? Okay. We got that? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Agenda adopted. Okay, we have three sets of minutes to approve this afternoon, stated evening. The regular meeting of October 21st, are there any additions or corrections to those minutes as presented? If there are, somebody make a motion to accept the minutes of October 21st, 2024. So moved. There. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, now we have the local bridge information meeting on October 28th, 2024. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, somebody make a motion to accept those minutes. So moved. Okay, no, if there are no discussion, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay. And the final set of minutes, the special budget meeting on October 29th, 2024. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? And if not, somebody make a motion to approve the minutes of October 29th, 2024. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right, stormwater plan. Margo, you're on.
Great. So hi everyone, my name is Margo Villa and I'm with Wyndham Regional Commission. And I wanted to just present an idea to all of you about stormwater master planning. So the state of Vermont, Vermont DEC, which is the Department of Environmental Conservation, has been managing contractors. Speak up? Sure. Okay. So just presenting an idea about stormwater master planning, and the state of Vermont has been working with communities around the state for the last many years about completing stormwater master plans for their communities and has been funding those master plans. And so stormwater in this case is any abundance of surface water that then runs off. So you don't really talk about stormwater in the woods. It's mostly on impervious surfaces like roofs or paved parking lots, roads, and even dirt roads are considered impervious surfaces because you don't have the filtration down through the surface. And stormwater master planning is about collecting information from a community and finding out where the problems exist within a community, identified by those community members. The contractor then also does research around working with the community around where are those problems showing up. And then from that, they create a list of potential projects that might benefit from being worked on for stormwater mitigation. And the town works with them to prioritize the top like 3 projects, and then you get 30% designs out of those projects. And the rest of the projects are still available and there, so that in the future, another organization like the Connecticut River Conservancy or Wyndham Regional would be able to work with the municipality to maybe get some projects done that weren't part of that 30% design. So the benefits of getting the stormwater master planning done, especially at this time, is the state is fully funding a contractor to work on them. That may not be the case in the future, but they do have that funding available now. The state would hire a contractor to work with the community, and then the contractor would be responsible for creating the plan. And the responsibility of the town would be to spend, have someone or several someones, work with the contractor in identifying where in town might be some problems. And then also maybe giving them a tour of places in town. And then helping to prioritize projects when they were identified. So not a huge lift for the town, but the benefits could be very helpful. Because any project that's then listed in the master plan gets bumped up on the list for priority funding in the future. So by having the plan done, gives you a better chance of future funding for any of those projects. So that's kind of where the state is at right now. So they're looking for communities who are interested in participating. They have just opened up a new round. And so this is a chance to get in on the next round. We've gone through several communities in our region that have either gotten their plans done or are in the process. So Brattleboro, the Greater Bellows Falls area, which includes parts of Westminster. We have Londonderry, Wilmington, and Dover. And so Grafton is one of the considered communities as maybe a next one to approach. And so I'm here to just tell you about the opportunity, see if you have any questions and whether you all might be interested.
How big are the grants?
For which? Future?
Yes.
So what it would do is, the grants are through the Clean Water, Vermont DEC Clean Water Funds. Those grants, they don't have a cap per se, but, I'm working on a couple engineering plans for a community right now that are, the designs are like 60,000-70,000. And then we're hoping to go back for implementation funding, which we're hoping to get as much as we can, because it's gonna be a huge project, but every project is different, so it's hard, and they're identifying projects in stormwater master plan, everything from a simple rain garden, right, which is not a huge amount of money, but could be funded through to like, these culverts need to be upsized to that kind of thing, or this area is causing erosion, so we need to fix the drainage in this area so that it's not creating erosion that is going into the streams. So it's hard to put a cap on or say what funding is available, but DEC funds currently are 100% of what you ask for. There is no town match. So that is a benefit of clean water funding. Unlike, say, V-Trans funding, if you have 80%, 20%
Martha,
match.
did you say there is no match?
There is no match.
Okay.
And for the master plan, there is no cost. The state is fully funding it.
But if you don't have a range of 20,000 or 100,000 or something like that in there?
For
Or what-
projects,
Yeah.
yeah, it might even be less, like a rain garden might only be 5,000.
Right, but if you spend a lot of time on a project, you don't know really, say it comes in at $500,000, is that gonna be rejected or?
Well, so I think it depends on, the master plan just identifies projects, right, and helps prioritize projects. So that then if you want in the future to go for funding, and it could either be the town or one of the water quality partners. A lot of the water quality partners work with communities, because some of these things would be on town-owned land, or some might be on private land. They're identifying projects, potential projects. They're not, and giving you designs on the top 3. It's not saying they all have to be done. It's these would be good for a community to do to reduce stormwater issues, but there's no regulatory expectations that a community has to complete any of the projects. It just, what it does is gets you further in line for potential funding.
So I understand, so the master plan, that comes first,
That comes
and there's
first.
no cost.
at no cost,
So,
except for maybe some employee time
right,
to
but
show
I mean, that,
consultants. No monetary cost.
so if we complete the master plan and we find that there is areas,
Yes,
then you apply for the funding, is that how it works?
yes.
So when you mentioned the other communities that you already, are we sort of in line? Because you mentioned 6 or 7 or 8
Yeah.
of those communities, does that mean Grafton's number 9 on the list or?
So those communities have either fully completed their plans at this point
Okay,
or are in process.
okay,
So the list went from a waiting list to now a shorter list, so they're,
so you're telling us at this juncture, it's sort of open for us to get involved,
right now
is a good time.
is a good time to do it.
To get involved.
So how do you go about with this master plan?
So if you all were interested, then I would put you in contact with the gentleman from the state and sort of say Grafton is interested, they want to get on the list for getting a master plan. And then when they hire this round of contractors, they would assign Grafton a contractor.
So the contractors are all from the state or the engineers are from the state
They're consultants that are hired by the state,
and
So-
the state pays for that?
and the state pays them
And
directly.
what's the deadline on it if you want to apply?
I was not given a specific deadline, I just was told it's open right now. Talk to a few communities.
So there really is no downside.
I was trying to figure that out, yeah, is there, what's the
There's-
downside?
Not from, that I can see, for a town's perspective, would there be a downside because there's no regulatory aspect to this? It's really just a benefit to a community to see what projects are out there that might help with, flooding or erosion or any clean water issues due to runoff. And then it's a town's prerogative whether they want to pursue any of those projects or not. And then again, if someone on private land, the private landowner may choose to work with a partner like Connecticut River Conservancy or the Conservation District to get the project done on their land. And they would also be eligible for funding, so.
So do we have some time to think about this?
You do, and I would just say, as soon as you can let me know. I can then tell the state yes or no, that Grafton is interested or not at this time.
Wendy?
Do you happen to know Time Bonds, one of the unlisted engineers or contractors who would work with the towns?
I don't know.
That's the only downside.
I think the contractors that. Have been working on the plans in the last couple of years with the communities that I've worked with down in our region. Have been Watershed Consulting and Fitzgerald Environmental. They're ones that have tended to do a lot of these stormwater master plans, but there's no guarantee. The state has to go through the process.
Margot, has this, program been in place long enough for somebody to go through the process of the master plan? And then can you give examples of what that led to for projects that have been accomplished?
Perhaps, and the reason I say perhaps is because our region was sort of later in the process of getting stormwater master plans completed. So that's why we're sort of prioritized right now, because we have less of them completed than other parts of the state. But I can say that, all of the master plans, the tactical basin plans, stormwater master planning, hazard mitigation plans, all of those plans, the projects that are identified, get put into a statewide database. And if the projects are in that database, that's what prioritizes them ahead of something that's not identified. So, I can say for the Saxons River watershed, there have been lots of projects that came from tactical basin planning projects that were identified that have been completed. buffer plantings, some buyouts. What else is done in the Saxons River watershed? I'm not coming up with them right now, but there's a lot of examples, all three regional projects that get completed. So,
So it actually becomes a working document, not just a shelf document.
yes. You know, and it's not a guarantee that any of those projects will get picked up like next, like, well, it actually takes a couple years to get the master plan completed. It's probably a 2-year process. And then there's no guarantee, right, that anybody will say, hey, I wanna work with that landowner to get that project done. But if it's not listed, it's very unlikely it'll get done, but if it's listed, then it's more likely.
So once the list is created, or you're on the list.
Yeah.
Who sets the priority of the projects on the list?
So, once the projects are kind of identified, then there would be a public meeting. The consultant would present the sort of the potential range of projects. And then through that process, the town would help the contractor identify sort of the top 3 to get 30% designs. Which is, you know, kind of like thinking about the alternatives and what a design might look like.
Okay, so you're helping me figure out how it happens within the town, but my real question was.
Okay,
When all the towns put their projects on the list,
oh, yeah.
who decides this town's project is more important than the neighboring town's project?
So a lot of it comes down to willing landowners, whether it's a town as a landowner or it's an individual as a landowner. I would say that willing landowners is probably one of the biggest reasons a project gets done. Because if, you know, a lot of projects might not have, that are listed, might not have willing landowners. So those might not get done. But if there is a willing landowner and there's a group that wants to work with that landowner, again, a town. Or an individual landowner for a specific project. You know, then there's an application process and, but right now, there's a lot of funding out there for clean water.
So are you saying that the projects that get on the list, there's funding enough to do the projects, so somehow, yeah.
Yeah,
If there's a lot of money, you can do them all, but if.
but you can't do them all.
I get it, so that's what I was trying to
Yeah.
get at. What committee or what
Yeah.
agency decides who on the list that's been accepted, who on the list gets the project?
So when you're applying for clean water funds, a project for clean water funds. And you're put in, let's say, like, I'm working with the town to put in an application. You know, I have to talk to all the potential permitters in Vermont, agency of natural resources. So if it's a river related project, then the river scientist has to weigh in, and if they deem it a worthy enough project, right, then it'll go through those hurdles. If it's a wetlands project, then the wetlands specialist has to weigh in on it. But once you get to that point where you can submit the application, right now, there's a pretty good chance a project will be funded. Now, if it's a $1 million project, they probably won't fund the full thing. But if it's like a $200,000 project, right now, there's a good chance that it would get funded. Now, how long that funding lasts, we never know.
Sure.
So that's always hard. And then this is just down the road, 2033-ish, there's gonna be new rules coming around stormwater. Where if there is, it's called the 3-acre rule. And the 3-acre rule is when properties that were not subject to the new stormwater regulations because they were implemented before the stormwater regulations went into place. So somewhere in the 80s usually is when that starts to kick in. then if the property has 3 acres or more of impervious surface, that includes dirt parking lots, then they will have to comply with stormwater regulations. We are currently exempt from that because right now they're focusing on the Lake Champlain and Lake Memphremagog area. So they have not implemented on the Connecticut River side of but it is coming. And so what we often say is to towns and individuals, try to get those projects completed now before the 3 acre rule comes into effect, because once something is mandatory, there's no funding.
Yeah.
Now, whether anything is 3 acres or more of impervious surface in Grafton, I don't know. Might not be, so that may not apply. But something to think about. But the stormwater master plan, which is really what I'm just here to offer you or tell you about as an opportunity, there's no strings. At least I have not seen any or heard of any. And it just helps identify potential projects.
So what's, if we think about it, whatever, what could be our next steps? What do,
Just letting me know.
okay,
You know,
Yeah, we
let me
can put it
know.
on the, another agenda, the next meeting or whatever.
so it just goes back to you and.
And then I can get the ball rolling.
Thank you.
Well, great.
Yeah, and so if you have any further questions about it, you can either, Joe has my contact information and Morgan has my contact information, and so I'm happy to answer any questions, and if I don't know the answer, I can find out from the state. But I'm glad you all might consider, discussing and seeing if
I
it's
think it's
something
very
that's a fit.
Actually, it's an
Yeah.
interesting project.
So, yeah, thank you for letting me just come and talk
Thank
about
you
it a little bit.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Thank you. All right.
have a good night, all.
You too. Okay, the budgets, Robbie, would you like to come up first and present your budget?
Either way.
For the fire
Somebody else
department?
wants to go first? I don't-
Well, you're on the list first, so that's why I'm calling you.
Okay. Well, this is mine. So this budget that I'm in and that you guys will have has not been approved by our association yet, that I think in December, but I don't foresee there being any changes. So it's kind of a temporary one right now, I will say, I guess, for a month, but. What we're asking for from Grafton is level funded from last year and the year before. The 29,950 and then 17 for the truck fund, which is still level funded. We actually, through fundraising last year, we've been trying to match the 17,000 for the truck fund that we asked from the town, but. Because we've done pretty well on the fundraising, we actually put in like 30 last year. So, we're trying to get that built up because the ladder truck is due. Everything else is pretty much the same. I mean. Honestly, it's kind of hard to do a budget 2 years out, as you guys know, because things change drastically. We do have some equipment replacement stuff that we're gonna have to do, so. Between this and fundraising, we should be in good shape, I hope, so.
So basically, you're saying that you're level funded like last year for the town's shares of it.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great. Helps us.
Yeah.
Well,
Helps us.
what is in your truck fund, just our curiosity, so.
Right around 300,000.
And
Maybe a little more. We actually maybe it's been a year now. It's, the Chappie being the treasurer, he's kind of in the middle of that, so we transferred a bunch of it to a Fidelity account to get more interest, so that's actually been pretty good. We're at like 5% interest versus. I haven't know what
Yeah.
So, that's been good and. I don't have the exact figure, but it's around pretty much.
And what is in your truck roughly?
New truck,
Yeah, what's your shooting goal?
we don't want.
Okay. No,
A new ladder is gonna be. At least $1 million.
Okay, yeah.
It's
Good.
gone- all fire trucks have gone crazy, you can't buy an engine for less than 800. And our last engine was 2016, and that was 3.5, so they just gone crazy. And they're all, they're all.
Thanks.
Anything else?
Anybody have any other questions of Robin? If not, Pete, for rescue?
Sir. Excuse me.
It's too nice, I'm in morning.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you for the town for your continued support of rescue squad. Basically, the bottom line up front is we're looking for a 3% increase for 2025-26. We haven't had any, I guess, depending on how you look at it in terms of if anything relatively large has happened. If you just scan down, there's been a few things we're trying to budget a little more aggressively for. Communications is one of them. We're at a point where we probably need to work with the fire department in purchasing radios. So that's just sort of acknowledging that there's going to be a bit of an expense there. Down towards about 3/4 of the way, you'll see a software item, which is new. The software that we use to get our reports from Keen, who dispatches us, has changed, and just the maintenance cost of that's going to be very expensive. So we're splitting that expense with the fire department. That's what that $1,000 is. You will see other things that have gone up a little bit, down a little bit, but basically our budget hasn't changed all that much. And we have once again allocated the budget per capita between Grafton and Athens. So Grafton represents about 2/3 of the total ask from the towns, and Athens represents about 1/3. We're relying on our annual appeal. I will say there's always a risk in that. We've been very fortunate to have very generous contributions made to the rescue squad. I will say that that budgeted $1,800, we have one contribution per year. That's almost half of that. So if that person moves out of town or loses interest, we would be in trouble. So we budget that number with the expectation that it will come in. And what else to say? At the very bottom, you'll see our balances in the bank. So we're in the same situation. We just started this year looking at a replacement for the rescue. It's 15 years old. Obviously, it doesn't, like everything in town, doesn't have a lot of mileage on it, but at 15 years old, things will start to fail, and getting parts and repairs will be more challenging. We have taken that balance that you see at the very bottom, $193,000. It's basically money that was, some of that money was left over from the purchase of the first rescue. We were prior to my time, so we over collected, if you will, or we're beneficiaries of more generosity than we needed when we purchased the first truck. So some of that's been around now for 15 years. And any year that we accumulate funds gets swept in there. So we don't have a truck fund per se, but that is our truck fund. I'll anticipate your question. Our first foray in looking at a replacement truck, we were quoted $400,000 for something that was $170,000 15 years ago. So I don't know quite where that will go, but anyway. TMI perhaps. Any questions about budget or anything else?
What is your final number you're asking for?
4,625. Please.
That's up from 4,500.
Yes.
Yeah. Any questions for Rod? I mean, okay, thanks, Keith.
No, thank you.
And the library.
I'd like to thank you, and introduce our new treasurer, Galen Johnson. I'd like to thank you for appointing him. We were very sorry to lose Kathleen, but we were also very lucky to get such a worthy replacement. So, this is Galen.
Hello, all. How good of you.
Oops, I don't know. I'll probably find it. Or I'll give you mine. So the library this year is, asking for $1,000 increase, which, per capita would still be $14.73 based upon the last, census, per person in town, so $14.73. If you would, if you approve the increase. And, we would love to be able to level fund. I've gone down in a number of areas. We've decreased spending a little bit for books, for audio visual, for office supplies, for cleaning supplies. But the areas that we're up are in some areas that we just can't control. Health insurance, building costs, you know, the VLTC came through and did an inspection last year, and we had some fairly hefty lighting and safety upgrades to make. And then, of course, we fully replaced the porch. A lot of people in town kept their eye on that, and we're really pleased with, but we have a historic building, so we need to be very careful about the replacement of that porch. And then, of course, you know, we've insulated the basement, we've insulated doors in the attic, and we've put on a new emergency door on the second floor. It had rotted. So we've had pretty hefty building concerns. We've raised a lot of money to do that. We had a matching capital campaign last year, but with the porch needing to be replaced it was rotting for safety reasons. We've gone through that. And we have about $4,000 left to apply to the electrical work. Actually, I just had Lawrence and Wilbur going over a bit today. And he unfortunately gave me some bad news that there are some new requirements with designated exits need to be lit from the outside as well as the inside. And if the state inspector says that needs to be done on the building, just that will be $1,000. I was like, oh my. So building, plus we're working away on the health insurance. That's out of our hands. So again, our board, this is a pro forma budget. Our board is going to have to whittle down, because you see, I included the painting of the library for next year, because we're really peeling in the back, and it needs to be done to maintain that building. So we will be pulling everything out of our short-term bond fund, which we have $13,000 left to do that painting job. And then we will have Zippo for any projects that might come up in terms of our budget. As you know, we use the investment fund for the 4.5% rolling average, which is used for library operations. And then we are completely dependent upon an annual appeal at this point. We are very fortunate that folks in Grafton have enough confidence in us that they're very generous with the annual appeal. So I bumped it up from last year based on what we took in. So I've got annual appeal, and then GIA has been able to help us out with some little projects. I've bumped them up with income. We've got the Gingerbread House Festival that makes a little bit of money. So those are placed, and our book sale is doing fairly well, and it bumped it up. And we've really been maintaining that. So we're pulling in a little bit more income in some areas, but we've got larger expenses. So we asked for another $1,000, which would bump us from $8,500 a year to $9,500 a year. Together would be $14.83 for each person in Grafton per year. So, thank you for your time. And if you have any other questions.
Any questions of the librarian?
Oh, and also just brought this poster because I want to encourage. We got a really nice donation from two people who moved into town, and we dedicated $1,000 of it to the Grafton Elementary School to bring in to support literacy. And they're bringing in someone who's doing a workshop that's going to combine literacy, arts and science, next week. And they will have an author night on the 14th, so I'm leaving this poster with you in case anybody's interested in going. Oh, and the Gingerbread House Festival will be starting and coinciding with Christmas in Captain, so if anybody's at all interested in making a gingerbread house.
Michelle, I have a question. What was the match? Was that the?
That was the match from
Liz?
the Bankowski, Liz
Liz
Bankowski,
Bankowski,
when she left the Women Foundation, they gave her discretionary money. And, she decided, based on our insulation and our energy use, to give that to us, but only if we could get a community match. So we started that in 2022, got the match, and then used that to pay for all the things that have been done since, but it's gone now. The porch itself is $28,000.
Okay, so the heat pumps you had considered, but that went out to
couldn't
the
do-
insulation.
We
Okay.
couldn't do it because we were so poorly insulated, so, we did the basement, we did the work in the attic, but we would have to do another capital campaign entirely to put in heat pumps. We're gonna wait, and actually, the gentleman from Efficiency Vermont said it's actually really good to wait a couple of years and see what decrease in, our fuel bill will be before we consider the heat pumps, because they may or may not be useful for our building. So that we're gonna monitor use, and then if we have to, we can do another capital campaign for that.
Okay.
Or there might be some funding throughout the state still available.
The $14 per capita, how does that compare to other similar size developments?
It depends on where the town is located. If the town is located in the Northeast Kingdom, it's average or slightly lower. If the town is located more in southern Vermont or middle of the state, we're on the lower side.
You know, Rockingham,
But Rockingham is much higher. I would have, if I were to guess, I would say it's double or more. Yeah.
Any other questions? If not, thank you. Highway report, Toby?
Not really much to report, we're gonna hang a fence tomorrow.
Sorry, real quick. Could Al speak on budget?
Oh, sure, sorry, it wasn't on here,
So I'm
so.
gonna ask if other would be a spot.
No, do it here.
It's hard to
No, do it
speak.
here.
So I believe, reading the minutes that, Morgan, forwarded, I guess, my request or thoughts on the village park. Looks like you folks, added a little money for mowing, which is good. We have some, blackberries, raspberries that are growing up on the entry into the parking lot on the left-hand side. That is gonna continue to get more established if it doesn't get some mowed, so I'm happy to see that. But, if I read the minutes correctly, you folks asked Morgan to look for grant money to see if there was money available to deal with the invasive species in the park. Which, would be good if we get a grant, but, I would just wanted to talk a little bit about invasive species. The plants that are in there have been treated in the past, was treated by, Hayden Lake at one time. At that point, the, buckthorn had grown big enough, he actually had to cut it with a chainsaw and stump treat it. And then after that, there was a more, a treatment more general throughout that was done by, Longview, and that was about $4,000, if I remember the number correctly. Mike, just wanted to share with you that the plants I'm seeing are on the boundaries. And so one of them is not far from your property, and one is on the other end, around the pond. So it's up near Rob Hall's property. And I just, feel as a town property to be, good keepers of our property, we should not, allow things to creep out of, and invasives to creep off from town property onto private land. That's my feeling. It's your call, what you decide to do with it. But the longer we wait to, do a treatment, we then switch from, relatively small plants that are efficient to handle, to then getting back to what it was like when Hayden Lake was a lot more labor intensive. So, if there's a way to, put something in the budget to do it and keep a lid on it, I would just like to encourage you. The plants that we're talking about are, buckthorn. There's also, Japanese barberry, and then there's, multiflora rose. Buckthorn being the primary offender. So I just plead my case to, see if you can do something sooner rather than later.
Well, why don't you, we have another budget meeting, why don't you give us an estimate of what you think, and then we can discuss it when we have our meeting.
Well,
We had no idea what something like that would.
Yes, the scope of it.
well, I would say the $4,000 that Longview did would be a good starting point. And, if you would, if you're interested to actually consider it, I would get a hold of Longview, or Morgan can get a hold of Longview and, see if the costs have gone up substantially since the last treatment.
It was in 2020 when we found.
Yeah, I'm saying about 3 years ago. Okay, well, and Morgan, we did say something about, I don't know if there's any grants available, but, yeah, so we can kind of take a look at that.
Do they do the same treatment for each of those that you mentioned? Same treatment? But we have Japanese.
I believe if it's a foliar, probably would be the same. If it gets to be larger plants, then it would change. It would be a pot with a stump treatment.
Is there a certain time when they do it that's most effective, like is it spring and fall or
Certain times.
certain time frame that they do it? Like, do you get it in the spring or do you get it?
Yes. It would be with leaf on, and I think it would be springtime, but I'm not sure. I kind of gotta wait until.
It would probably
that kind of treatment.
Any other comments on the budget or whatever? No, Toby?
We're gonna hang fence, tomorrow up at the cemetery. We have, half of the panels are completed and the other half are gonna be painted. We just didn't have room to paint all of them at once in shop. So the other half will be painted tomorrow afternoon and should be hung probably Thursday. The rest of it, then probably Friday we'll straighten out the posts.
Yeah, you gotta straighten out the posts at the gate, so it looks decent.
Yeah, and other than that, probably the only other thing I'm gonna work on this week is starting the bid process for the grader. Other than that, I think that's it. And the paper I gave you,
Yes,
that was for, that's the reasoning on why I unplugged the culvert with the backhoe. You guys wanted me to do it by hand, like Skip does, and that is, I can't go in the culvert, so. That's the only reason why I unplugged that one with the backhoe, and that's what he was upset with. Was me using the equipment to unplug it, so. Those are the reasons. I don't know if more you wanna read them, or you want them to read them?
It's the one on the Cabell Road that we talked about.
Yep. I can't go, I'm not, legally, we're not allowed to go in there to be in that fight, I mean, it's not safe. Doesn't matter if Skip wants to go in the culvert, he can go in the culvert, but we cannot, I mean, if OSHA catches us in there, it's gonna be deep shit, I mean. We cannot be in there.
What's this transportation alternative grant?
Yeah, that's me. Are you all set?
Yeah, I guess,
Nathaniel started.
yeah, yeah, we got him a chainsaw. Chaps and helmet and coats and other stuff today, and we painted some fence, so.
Don't forget the signs on towns and roads, you gotta put
It's
the,
already done,
okay, great.
the lines are painted also,
Okay,
Is
that's
it
all.
that whole fix?
backhoe got fixed today, it needs, I gotta go to a hardware store and buy an extension cord. To replace the cable that, I guess was the issue. That's what, the John Deere tech said that they've been doing to replace them, so I'm gonna buy the cable and Lane's gonna replace it, but as of right now, it's fixed.
Also, Kobe, the new truck,
Yep,
and nobody signs because it's not, so you have to let us know when.
I called on Friday and I don't think Craig really wants to talk to me, cause I got after him about it, cause it's pretty unnecessary. I was pretty upset that we spent that kind of money on a truck and it comes with oil leaking out of it and it wasn't finished getting built. And actually, I'm sending the plow back also. This week, because the plow is leaking hydraulic oil out of it as well. So, I don't know what ATG is doing, but they're cutting some corners and. Had a long conversation on the phone with Craig, the salesman, about it on the day Thursday when the truck come back.
Yeah, well, the warrants down there, they're not signing it.
Well, I told him that we weren't gonna pay for it till the truck was done right, so.
Just let us know if we.
Yeah, I'm gonna call tomorrow again, see if I can get an update, but I called lots of voicemail. On Friday, and I called lots of voicemail today, and he still hasn't gotten back to me, so.
The only thing I can say is not very professional.
No, I
To
found
deliver
a
a brand new truck that costs 20-some odd, what is it?
$200,000.
And have it that way.
I found another company that we could deal with also. The same dealership, not same dealership, same brand. It's out of Maine, but. I don't know what, it never had this problem before with them, so I don't know what it was, but. Hopefully it'll get dealt with.
At one time, the board had a policy that all the highway workers would take game of logging before they ran a chainsaw. And I don't know if that policy is still enforced or not, but hearing you mention that, I said, I wonder if he's had the training or anybody's thought about
Get to
that.
do that in the fire department? No, but something we should sign up for then.
Right,
So you talking about new person or all the highway crew?
The rest of us have all had it. I've had three trainings, and Lane's had 3 and David's had 3.
Well, so then you have to give it, then you have to.
Yeah, he should at least go through one of them,
Yeah.
not 2.
Absolutely.
That's something you do now?
retired.
No, but people do it.
No, I wasn't growing up. So, good catch, but now, game of logging is taught, by Northeast Woodland Training. John Adler and Chester is one of the co-owners. And they have courses going on all the time, so
Good.
you'll be able to go to their website and find, what's something close by.
So Morgan, what's this update here?
Yeah, so John, Foley, myself, all met with Hardy about capital budget stuff. And we talked about this transportation alternatives grant, which we've been talking about for the board for quite a few months now. It's for that grant of $284,000, with the town match of $71,000 to replace the culvert on Fisher Hill Road. And after a lot of discussion with Hardy, the capital budget decided to move forward with that grant. So I was looking for an authorization to sign the grant agreement to move that along.
Which culvert is that?
It's the large one by Nate Stradley.
It doesn't anywhere near cover the cost, but it's already convinced me that we should apply. For that. It's too bad to give up $280,000.
I agree. So if there is any other discussion, somebody make a motion.
I'll second.
Now, do we have any other discussion? I think it's a good deal. I mean, it's gonna cost money, but
Can you just repeat that, we got 281 and
Yeah.
just the numbers.
Grant award was 284,000 and a match is 71.
Ah,
Is that gonna be the same size as what's there now, or is it a little bigger?
No, it would be upsized and it would be a box culvert. I don't have the exact measurements, but it would be bigger.
yeah, you can't put any more big culverts in there. When it gets a certain size, they have to be a box culvert now. Yeah.
But it's take more water.
The new
Yeah,
regulation.
oh, for sure, absolutely.
That's why it costs so much money. If there's no other
That's it, yeah.
discussion, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay. Kim, do you have anything?
Let's see, I gave you guys the quarterlies.
Yeah.
Last Thursday, so if you guys, no one had come in with any questions. Second quarter taxes are due the 15th. Those have been rolling in slowly. Voting's been quite busy. We, out of 584 voters on our checklist, 254 have already voted absentee. So hope to see quite a few more people tomorrow. Just a reminder, at 6:45, I hope to see all BCA members for county. The audit from Sullivan Powers is coming along and I'm hoping to get a rough final draft within the next couple of weeks. I know I talked to her almost 2 weeks ago and they gave me the final movement of numbers and then they were working on our management letter, so we should be getting that rough draft of the audit soon, I would suspect. Other than that, that's it.
Committee reports? Personnel?
Yeah, I started working on the proposed amendments on the personnel committee, like, personal telephone use for the town telephone use. There's a new policy out there for drug and alcohol use. So we'll get a list. Steve and I are gonna work on it. I would also recommend, but the employee evaluations are probably gonna come up in December sometime, so you gotta do your reports. So I have. Do you have anything?
For something after the personnel committee, I talked to.
Yeah, that's,
Oh,
this is fire rescue stuff.
now that there's 3 highway people that are on the fire department about possibly leaving during the day for calls that need be, I mean, depending on the circumstances. Obviously, if there's plowing snow or salt in the roads, that's priority, but. It'd be beneficial for us if they could.
Okay.
I tried to get, from Rockingham, that what you told me on the fire department, I couldn't find anything on their website, so I couldn't find a website, so. They have to give a call from fire department in Bells Falls, maybe?
Maybe the select board, I don't know, I just met with one, that's what happened next the other day.
Where the box is. I'll try, I didn't find anything today.
Oh, no, it's just something that I was throwing out there for you guys to think about, but.
Yeah.
Anything else on the personnel? Up, a flood update, is there anything, flood, I think,
Most bad.
I don't have too much other than we're still working with, engineers for the Hickory Brook Road culvert and the Eastern Road Wall. Do you wanna touch on financials?
I can talk a little bit about it. I just found out this weekend that Biden sent more money to the state of Vermont. So instead of 75% share, they're gonna do 90%. I still don't know what our share is of the state's share, but I know that 90 of it is gonna be paid for. And it changes the figures quite a little bit. I don't think in the end that we're gonna be out any money at all. When it gets all done. So whatever our share is, it's 5% or 3%. But they still owe us about $260,000. And then. That would, and then plus the 15%. And then said before.
Any question? It is. The bid for the fire escape,
Yeah,
Okay.
I looked at both of those, I would recommend going with the Heritage Engineering for 11,000, sorry. Yeah, 11,500, which was the cheaper of the two. He still had everything included that was necessary, and when I met with him, I felt like he was, confident enough and would communicate well with the board.
okay, so somebody wanna make a motion to accept that bid?
So,
Second,
Any discussion?
when are you gonna, when are you gonna do that?
In the proposal, it said that they would have the designs done by, late February. So definitely ready to go by springtime for construction.
And do they recommend, someone construct that, or is that another bid?
Within their proposal, they would help with the construction.
Well,
They would help oversee all of that.
but still has to go.
Right.
There's no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Vote. Okay. A long awaited dog ordinance. Did anybody have any comments on the dog ordinance? That was,
I have one comment.
yeah, go ahead.
I comment on the dog control area, which should be following public roads, and public roads are listed. And some are in red because they're questioned, which is reasonable. I guess my first question is. Why would it not say the public roads of Grafton? My concern is only, and it's just when you get to the end of the road. There's, you know what I mean, it's hard to define it if it's on, just pretend on Hinkley Brook, but not Fire Pond. That it's just, where does one road, are we opening ourselves up to?
We're on the page.
I'm sorry, page two, it's number L of the definitions, letter L, excuse me. And I just had some concern that if we aren't, the definition isn't. Well, it just leaves room for, there's a line that one could cross, and I'm bringing it up, so I don't have any.
Does it make any sense to have all roads, all public roads?
Right,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's just a safer, easier, less likely to be misconstrued, or someone argue, no, I was on the other way. When my dog went.
Yeah, but when somebody's living up in Cowell Road by themselves, I mean, why would you restrict them if they wanna take a walk with their dog when there's 500 acres?
I hear you.
I mean, that was,
Well,
that was the reason why to where the populated area is. And that's how, I believe Londonderry did that, did they not, Londonderry is when we got they named certain roads.
The town of Putney.
Funny.
Yeah.
Who enforces this?
The animal control. The lady, the one we paid $20,000.
You see that some dogs that are not on a leash, you're gonna call them to come up and.
No,
They basically filed. a
Only
complaint.
if they're
You're just a complaint.
It's sort of about the same as, I mean, Because now, I mean, people, if they have a concern about a dog, would call the animal control, we just define it as minor, so.
Because as Joe said, when you get out further, I know 4 dogs that walk every day with no leash on, and they're way up on the Delaware. So I don't know what.
Yeah, I know, it's.
Well, I drove up, Middletown
Here you
Road. And there's two people, one had her dog on a leash and the other one was loose. And went by slow because they're in the road. And the dog off leash chasing them back. You know, you didn't have that. And I didn't hit the dog, but I don't know where the dog was gonna go, he could have gone down. And I went slow and, but he chased me, so I don't know.
Well, you have a question mark at Middletown Road.
Yeah, I have a few questions. I didn't know how specific we wanted to make it.
Well, I think Middletown Road should be included personally. Because it is,
That's something else.
you know, there's a lot of houses there and.
All right, Eastman, there's some. Dogs on Eastman Road. But, I mean, here we are picking and choosing because of personal experience, and I'm not sure that's fair or the proper way to go about it, just because someone's had an experience, you know what I'm saying, and I'm trying to make it fair.
We've got a lady on Fifty Hill that walks her dogs 2 or 3 times a day. Not on the leash, they mine, there's never been any problem.
And, yeah, I'm sure that's,
What's gonna happen is nobody's gonna do anything until something happens, and then you can have that behind you.
Yeah.
To do something about it. You have to be out.
I mean, we're not enforcing something by saying, oh, I saw a dog, I mean, if there's a formal complaint and the complaint is reasonable. Are we better protected if we say? Oh, my goodness. I mean, yeah, I mean, do I think the dogs on the up at the Bell Road should be able to wander around? Sure. You know, it's not up to me.
I also listed like, not town roads, but like the Village Park, Wilson Park.
Yeah,
Community
those,
garden.
Yeah.
Those like general places for dogs.
yeah, they should be on the leash, obviously. That's it.
The other question was, I mean, the Grafton Trails is our property.
Yeah.
But do they have, does anyone know if they have any kind of?
They said they're supposed to be on the leash there.
Well, I saw a sign this morning on the bridge and it said. If you see, if your dog is off the leash and you encounter another dog, put your dog on the leash, but it didn't say if you encounter a person.
Where did you see that?
There's on the green, you know, the green bridge going right below. The, going on to, you know, right at the parking lot of the foundation, or just below,
Oh, okay.
in the barn, and then you go across and there's
Oh,
that bridge.
okay.
There's just somebody laminated a sign, I mean, obviously some women foundation personnel, and it said. If your dog, if you see another dog, please put your dog in the leash, and I thought, at first it said. I was thinking about tonight, oh, if you see a person, put your dog in the leash, but then I read it again, went, no, it didn't say that at all. So, having just met a few very friendly, but they definitely were happy to see me dogs on my walk. I was like, well, apparently, they certainly, the person was great, the dog was fine, but they were definitely running loose.
Yeah, you never know what a dog's gonna do.
Well, you never know, exactly, I mean, it didn't bother me, but it might bother, but that's, I don't think our issue here, because Grafton Trails is. Part of Wyndham, and that's not what we're talking about, am I right?
That's private property.
Right, so that's not our. Our jurisdiction, anyway.
So how do you want to proceed with?
I think to Rodney's point, like, we're not gonna be going around enforcing this unless something comes up, so. I don't necessarily see the harm in putting all town public roads plus some parks in the village. But
Yeah, but. We're out in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
the dog runs up to the mailbox, I hate to have her breaking my ordinance, you know?
Yeah.
No,
I appreciate the village. Just,
Yeah, I think you have to restrict it to highly populated areas, and that's not fair for somebody who lives up in, you know, like, Sheldon, librarian there, I mean, she lives up there, she has a little dog, I mean, does she have to have a leash, take the dog down her driveway, I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Well, no, if it was a property, that's right.
So what, I don't understand, so if I walk past. Remember it was Laura Middleton or somebody who up there where, you know, Middletown Road, these dogs would come running out, I mean, walking on the road, so you're saying. It wouldn't cover that area. Because it's not part of the village, is that what you're saying?
Well, they're running out from a private property at you, then
On
that's
the-
between you and the property owner.
Yeah.
That's not a walking dog leash. Oh, got it, okay.
Say that again,
That's a good.
I did,
When you walk past a house up on Middletown.
Just
and
for-
a dog comes out, then that's between the property owner and the walker. It's not a walking dog.
or riding a bike or something.
Thinking of Jerry with the Whitley house.
Yeah,
isn't that where
that's
that
what happened, yeah, but he's on private
So
land.
we wouldn't be in private, right, private property, okay. Mhm.
Yeah, I'd also say that what's good for anybody in town is good for everybody in town. So I don't see why people, I mean, I really hate the dogs that are around on the meeting town. But at the same time, if you say, hey man, you live in a county, so you get to let our dogs free. But I live on Jericho Road and I don't get to let my dogs free, that doesn't seem right either. So I think it's either like everybody leases their dog. or no.
But on the flip side of that, the people in the village have to pump their septic every year. People out in the village don't have to, everybody should.
And dogs should be.
Everybody should look at their dogs.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, so. I've never heard of a leash law, where there was exceptions, it's usually private leash law.
the people out in nowhere aren't bringing their dogs into town.
Oh, yes, they are. They are. Yes, they should.
Well, if they bring their dog into town.
If they bring their dog in town, they fall
They
under this
have to
town.
follow the leash.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They have to.
Other towns do.
Yeah, I mean, they have a very clear, I took this section from them and obviously changed the
Right.
street names, but, they have a very clear defined sections and roads.
and after that, it's between the person and the property owner, which is,
So if this is passed. And it becomes the policy. Are we gonna send this out to all the?
No, this is an ordinance, this has, you have to have a hearing.
I know that,
Yeah.
no, it's all set.
So, the select board could approve it as it is, and then we would have to post it on like 5,
Right, I understand.
all that, and it would not become effective until 60 days, so we wouldn't have to have a hearing. Unless there was a petition filed to vote against it. Does that answer your question?
Well, my thought was, lots of people don't come into town or look at stuff and go to the website. If it's mailed out with a tax bill or whatever, that everybody gets one and they're aware of it. Especially these, short-term rental people, places.
We would put it in like the Grafton News and,
Yeah.
the Vermont Journal, but otherwise, we wouldn't do a mailing typically.
Just thought of it.
So how do you wanna, how do we wanna do this? Do we wanna just kind of think about it and put it for the next meeting, or do we wanna make a decision now? This is the first reading, so we have an opportunity to kind of think about it.
Yeah, we can do it as many times as we need to.
All right,
yeah, it didn't seem very resolved.
okay, so we'll put this on to another meeting.
Okay.
Go from there. Is there any other business? No, there isn't.
Are we ever gonna do a 90% meeting or not? Is that dead in the waters?
I will reach out to them and ask, but I think it's dead in the water.
Yeah.
It's dead in the water, forget it.
And Emily, we did call Emily about the water situation. Did she ever get back to you?
No, and I followed up twice already. I can ask maybe Matt or somebody else from the committee to reach out, because my efforts haven't been
Yeah,
responded.
I just feel it was just unfortunate that she hasn't. Cause the first response was I'm gonna get back to him, because it was important.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other? Public comment? Okay. So the next special budget meeting will be Tuesday, November 12th. Here at 4 P.M. And then the next board meeting is a site visit and a public hearing of discontinuance on Wednesday, November 13th at 4 o'clock. And then the next regular meeting will be November 18th at 6 P.M. And that'll be with the short-term rental.
So are we having a hearing at the same time on that one?
Right?
Go see the,
Hearing?
well, are we gonna consult with our lawyer and other?
We could add it, we could add it. Well,
That's within the
Yeah, it's in,
discontinued.
it's in with the,
Yeah, but it doesn't list it here.
no, but.
It'll be on the agenda for that. Yeah, like going, yeah.
So everybody keep in mind that the 18th will be the short-term rental. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
So.
Discussion, all in favor? Can the select board just remain